So a couple of years ago, Google built an algorithm that could predict, based on your data, 95% likelihood of how you would die and when. The truth is this is the same principle that we see in the movie Tomorrowland. And what happens is in Tomorrowland, they see doomsday coming up. They decide not to act in the movie and accept their fate, essentially, and do nothing. So here's the thing: fear will always seek to justify itself proactively and retroactively, whatever you fear. Faith never does. So in New York City, when manure was getting so bad in the city from the horses going through, there was regulations, whatnot. They really thought they were going to have to abandon Manhattan Island because of how bad the health concerns were getting. But no one expected the automobile to come through and save them. So people thought the city, they were going to have to abandon it rather than keep it. So here's the thing, is that every problem has a solution. But a lot of the world's problems today already have solutions. A lot of it is based upon implementation, as the struggle of what to do, how to get to the end result. Because today, we have a lot of the predictive analysis we need to know what the problems are. We have a lot of the solutions actually already here. We have cures for cancer, we have energy efficiency taken. We have all those things fixed. The question is how do we get it to market adoption in a way that makes sense? The current systems in place save as many as we can, because some people aren't as concerned as saving as many as we can. Some of them are concerned. Some people are just concerned at how they implement them for their own lives. But here's the thing, is that we may not be telling ourselves that's truly what's going on. Is that we all really want to love our neighbor. We just have a different idea of how to do that. Some of us might consider that loving our neighbor is about recognizing and having our neighbor accept that this life is all there is, and that we have to have fun in this life because there's nothing coming after. Whereas another neighbor might say, well, there's always life coming after, and we have to prepare for the next life, and it makes this life harder. And so those two different approaches are going to look at the manure problem in the state of New York or the Manhattan Island. One is going to give up and try to make as much money off the manure as it piles up as they can. And another person is going to pursue and work hard and build the automobile. And that's what we have to face. We have to face that choice of whether or not manipulating a population to dumb them down is the right course of action, and putting things towards automation to line our pockets for this day, whether it's that we're going to seek to automate everything, get the votes that we need through manipulating people, create a sense of the Sith way of thinking, that we need to have people emotional so we can manipulate them, have them offended, keep them moving in the direction that we want them to, is towards an end result that we are somewhat satisfied with, from the basis of that we can control something or somebody. And the thing is that this other side, the side looking to work hard, says you can't control the human spirit. The human spirit is something that soul that resists control. That's why socialism fails every time. It's because it's the same reason why the devil doesn't get his way. It's because he's prideful. He thinks he can do better. He thinks he can be the benevolent dictator, which we know there's no such thing as a benevolent dictator in all of history. It's why even the Pope will have checks and balances with the magisterium. It is why the best governments just as the best companies have checks and balances, safeguards for their teams, for each other, for their security, for everything else, for their motivation, and for their ability to have their own feet held to the fire. Is any system perfect? No, not at this current time, but there are systems that are far better and built to last far longer. As we align closer to God's perfect system, as we get there, it takes a willingness to walk through that fear that the manure may take over New York. But if we want to arrive, as many of us as we can, it's going to be those that work hard. It's going to be those that work hard for the next generation. This generation is not lost. It's not. It's lost when you believe it's lost, when you start spending all your money, and you believe there's no other solutions that are possible. But let's face it, there are a lot of things that are running out. It doesn't mean there aren't solutions. It means that there can be a fear in implementing them. There can be a struggle between how people think they should best be implemented and why. Whether this life is all there is, so let's eat it up now. Or whether we need to control and manipulate other people. Are we the Sith? Are we building up the Jedi to educate people? Have a lot of people doing a lot of great things. And how do we tap into that? How do we build that up? And that, it takes a longer time. It takes more effort. It takes a willingness to carry your cross in this life, realizing it's not about your life. It is about the next generation. It's about the next life. And it's about eternity being passed down, continuing a pursuit towards peace. Because it is a pursuit. We can have a peace within ourselves, an understanding of truth, a recognition God is truth and love, not love without truth, not truth without love. What happens is when we dive into truth without love, oftentimes we think maybe bullying people is the best way to push through truth, but then without love, people don't even want to hear it. They don't want to be around it. And we can think love without truth, oh, maybe that's the easier way to go. We can just manipulate them to get our way. And at the end of the day, we're really being loving. I mean, come on. At the end of the day, people end up bitter, and we end up wanting truth without love, to be honest. So how do we get back to love and truth? Well, Noah built an ark 100 years in advance. Most plans to destabilize anything solid, whether it's a family, company, a government, anything. You're destabilizing people's belief systems. It takes time. It takes a willingness to plan 100 years in advance. Many people have. In fact, there's distinct models on how to destabilize countries that are planned out 100 years in advance. That's why Noah is so important. You have to be able to see far in advance. Otherwise, you may not know what's coming. How to plan ahead, how to mitigate, what to do, how to learn to do the impossible, how to build people up, to build the next automobile, the next grand saving, next world-changing invention. The thing is this happens so much in the United States, those world-changing inventions, that it's almost too much to keep up on. That's because we have a system of checks and balances that helps us get to the roots of the problem quickly. And what we've lost in that is that the United States did not have a magisterium. They had nobody to hold the feet to the fire to the original intentions upon laws and constitutions. And because of that, English has been manipulated in how people choose to interpret it out of a long implementation of a campaign to get into our minds and make us more reactive, to make us fear our neighbor instead of love them as ourselves, recognize them as ourselves, to look at each other as tools to either get what we want, or we look at what tools to get what we want until, somebody's hurt. Then when somebody's hurt, well, you're no longer a tool. We're no longer going to try to get what we want out of you. Now we're going to come in and help you because we beat you up too much. And so, we've lost sight. The true intention God had us set us out on His path was to reach back to Him. Simple, complex, simple. It's like when in your own life, when you went through a hard time, life got complex. For whatever the reason and whatever you ended up doing, life got complex and you needed grace to get back out of that. And it was a long, hard trudge uphill. And at some point you hit rock bottom, and rock bottom's different for everybody. Your rock bottom's different than mine. Everybody's rock bottom's different. You may go ups and downs. And Protestants would say it's the peaks and valleys. You got to master the different deserts of your life. And the truth is that there doesn't have to be a number of them, but every now and again we could let the devil back in, let our sins take over. It takes a while to creep back out of that. But when we're in line with the truth, in love, we're at peace, we're at rest, because we know we're doing what's right to the best of our ability, and God protects us because as we learn more what we're doing wrong, we quickly adjust, and therefore we become protected. It becomes easy to forgive somebody quickly when they keep short accounts. It's very difficult when you have entire very large companies that have been manipulating for a very long period of time, when you have governments keeping secrets and pushing out news. Part of the problem to get what they want, to have their party, because they think the world is over in Tomorrowland. So why not have the party now as they want it, because they think this life is the goal. So when you're convinced this life is the goal, you have no purpose to pursue for the next. You want to live fat and happy now. Who cares who you hurt? But if you love people, you're going to do the hard thing. And it's hard to love those people who want to be fat and happy in this life. It's hard to love them. They're going to say they're going to be a benevolent dictator, because even the best people want to be benevolent dictators, but if they don't have checks and balances, even like the Pope, sooner or later, they fall. They fall, the next person falls. It doesn't matter. The reason Jerusalem was protected in the time of the kings is because it was ruled over by God, and anytime it was not ruled over by God, it was easy to overtake Jerusalem. Anybody not ruled by God is easy to overtake. It's easy today, very easy, for anybody with a video phone, take photographic or video evidence of anything going on. It's interesting that you see the CIA TED Talk, young lady said that everybody knew in the village that the one guy was doing something wrong. That's how most communities are. Most communities know when people are doing things wrong. Every businessman knows when certain business people are playing things close to the chest. They're lying essentially to get their way. They're letting other people, using them as tools to, deny whatever it is that they're doing. Lying essentially to keep themselves in a higher negotiating position, because once you know how to do something, it's easy. And people less often have the integrity and character to recognize that something is not theirs, or that they would actually, to their own hurt, be foolish to go out and recreate what somebody else created, because if people cannot trust you, you eventually tear yourself down. And that's the thing, is that when we don't really trust God as the authority over us, it's the one who's guiding our way, we don't trust that the human spirit shows itself to everybody. We don't trust that. And what happens is we become fooled into thinking we can do better, and we naturally take ourselves out. And by that same token, when we trust God, even as we do bad, God protects us. He takes the bad and turns it into good. And we can too, if we allow ourselves the ability to see it, see the ability to get it done. So what I have found over a long length of study, many subjects, is that every biblical principle is just applied differently in different fields of study. And this is, I'm going to throw out a question for you. If you're sitting in any particular room or any particular phone call, and you're able to reverse engineer, you can be online, able to reverse engineer, separate the misinformation, the disinformation, recognize when somebody's spirit is trying to block what's real or what's not real about something, even deny it so that they might not be hurt, or they might not be hurt, people rightfully in their companies might not be hurt, to be able to determine and predict with excellent accuracy what will happen, what will the outcome be. The question is what would you do? What would you do? What would you do in the position of Google, knowing with 95% accuracy how someone's going to die and when? What would you do? What would you do if it was a court case? What would you do if the court case had your friend in it? Would you tell the attorney which attorney it was, whatnot, how to win that court case? Whether it be for good or for bad? Would you tell them which juror to take on, put on, or take off? What would you do? What would be the purpose? Would you feel good about yourself? Could you sleep at night? It's a really tough question, because fear justifies itself proactively and retroactively. Faith never really does. If you're in Google's position, Facebook's position, maybe they do see it. Maybe they've figured out the math problem, how to get there all the way to the end. You have everything solved. And then maybe, just maybe, they're prideful and they think they can do a better job trying to control the manure and allow the Jedi to raise up and create the automobile.